Hi, I'm Vadd, and this March, not everything I spent my time in turned into a full video. And sometimes I think of new takes after I've already uploaded something. So today in this video, I'm going through everything from the last month, both some of the games you might have seen and some of the ones that you did not. This March, I was making my way through One More Island. It's this kind of mini city builder, survival, building, exploration game. It's got a bunch of like broad tags, but it basically boils down to you make these little plots of land, and then you build these little supply chains. And it's kind of charming. It's also like a little frustrating just because it's a lot of clicking, a lot of like mousing around. Like I don't love the controls, and it's got a good pace to it. Whereas I was working my way through, each time I unlocked something new, it kind of changed things. And I was just really enjoying my time in One More Island. I've picked it up on and off a couple of times over the years. And every time I have to start from zero because I forget everything. And while I was spending time in One More Island, I found out that Satisfactory finally, after all these years, got their big controller update. It took over my entire month. Satisfactory absolutely destroyed everything in my life in the best way possible. I just was absolutely tickled and fell in love with all the systems. I was like, man, I just really like this. And I put in a solid, I think like 120 hours in one world. That got me to like Factory Spaceship 1. I spent a lot of time exploring, a lot of time opening up crates and just building things just how I wanted them. And I enjoyed every second of it. But the further I got into Spaceship 2, 3, and 4, and the more complex things got, the less fun I was having. And I really struggled with that because the game hadn't changed. I think maybe I changed. You know, it was really tough to kind of put my finger on. Ultimately, I enjoyed my time in Satisfactory. I'll probably go back at some point, but for this month of March, I'm going to put it down and walk away. I'm sure the argument could be made, but Dad, if you'd spent a little less time exploring and more time building factories, you probably would have completed a run. Yep, that's probably true. That's probably very true. You might say, Dad, if you were a little less particular about how things looked and the angles you put things down, you probably would have completed, you know, all the spaceship parts. Okay, yep, you got me there. Absolutely true. You know, I understand that if the goal was to complete all phases of the space elevator, I had plenty of time to get it done, but I wasn't interested in it. I was much happier building what I wanted to build and figuring things out. You know, there was a really special moment where I finally found, I keep calling it crystal, but I think it's called quartz. I found the quartz and I built this huge conveyor belt. I don't know, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, meters of distance. It was crazy. Got quartz coming in and I'm happy. And then I unlocked the ability to explode rocks. And I found a much easier path to build on that was bigger, broader, wider, flatter, shorter. Would have saved, I don't know, like 80% of the work I needed to do did not need to be done if I just done a little bit of research in the tech. And at first I was frustrated, but then I was like, but I had fun doing what I was doing and I can redo it better. And it's something Satisfactory just is so well paced where each thing you unlock just builds on the previous thing and makes things just a little more difficult. And it's an absolutely charming game. I don't know if I recommend it to anyone because I think you need to know yourself as a player if you're going to like this game or not, because you might find this game wildly frustrating or this might just become the only game you ever play again. Age of Wonders 4 had their big Rise from Ruin Scorpion up. It is so good. It is so fantastic. If you like what they do, they nailed it again. The tomes are good. The whole moving cities are so cool. The new factions, the new... I like the game. Like, I'm just incredibly biased here, and they nailed this one. I got killed by this giant worm a couple of times. I had to go in and actually micro the battle on like turn 130 or something crazy. It was a great fight. It was a great game. The Rise from Ruin update was a good addition. I think it added good things. I think the art style is just absolutely on point for the world they've designed, and it was so cool to just pick up your city and move it, put it right down next to like your enemies, and then your border is next to theirs, and all of a sudden you can start just waging war in ways you couldn't before. It really changed the way I thought about fighting and thought about building cities. It was just so cool. Such a good update. Love my time in there. Sometimes I get that question when I mention Age of Wonders 4. There's so much DLC. Do I need it? No. Just play the base game. If you like the base game, then pick one DLC you think looks like fun. I think they're all about the same quality with about the same amount of stuff in them. Just get the base game and then pick one DLC. You're like, I want to do that thing, and go do that thing. One DLC added vampires recently. We have these moving cities. There's cool stuff, but like you don't need them all. Just if you want to try it, try the base game, and then if you really finish that and really love it, then try a DLC. But otherwise, like the base game's good. Of course, you know, I kind of call them my render games. When I'm working on a video and I have it rendering out from my software, right, leaving the editing bay and moving on to kind of the next stage in the production pipeline there, I'll sometimes throw up a game. And this month, like the previous 24, Mechabellum made its way in there, which is just kind of like a robot fighting auto battler chess game. It's kind of fun. I think I've actually gotten worse at the game over time as the game continues to evolve and I continue just to spam units I think are cool, which I don't think is very endearing to my teammates, but I gotta tell you, that's don't think it's my problem. Oh man. And this month as well, we slipped into a little Slots and Daggers. It's got this little bit of charm to it that when you look at it, it looks like hot trash, like not because it is, but like at a glance, there's nothing appealing to it to me. But as soon as I threw it on my Steam Deck and I just started slapping the A button and watching the little numbers spin around and lightning bolts hit my face, I was like, I get it. All right, this is fine. I like it. I understand the appeal. And it's not something that is going to become my life or, you know, change my whole world, but it's definitely like a perfect little bite-sized Steam Deck game. You know, someone else has something going on and you're kind of there and you've got your handheld and you're like, you know what, I could just throw in Slots and Daggers, do a couple pulls, spin a couple spins, see what I can fight. You know, it's a little charming adventure. Now, outside of some quickie little render games and whatnot, of course, this month was Crimson Desert. I have so many things I want to say about this game and so many things that I've changed my mind about this game. And I'm not confident that what I say right now will age very well. But what I am confident in is two things. Number one, I think Crimson Desert is going to age very well as a game. I think it's really, really promising. And if the developers can figure out the balance between fixing their mistakes and not overcorrecting, I think we have an all-timer on our hands. I don't think the game is going to appeal to everyone. I think it's going to always be a divisive game. And I think there's too many games that it's getting compared to right now that are half right and half wrong. And because of that, it's always kind of coming up short. I've seen a lot of people right at launch week be like, it's kind of like Skyrim, and I played Crimson Desert. I would not have said that. I can see why they said that, but I don't think I would have said that. I've seen other people go, hey, it's really like Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I would have said that. I can see why you said that. I've seen some discourse around, well, it's a single player MMO. Well, I can see why you said that, but I don't think I would have said that. I've seen some discussion that's, you know, trying to say, hey, the game's like a mile wide and an inch deep. And then I sit there and I go, okay, you're just wrong. You've not properly engaged with the game and systems. I think it's always going to be a divisive game, partially because of the scope of the game. It's very ambitious in its scale. And I think different people are going to find different fun in Crimson Desert, because you might be a player who's like, you know, I really love that feeling riding my mount. I've been exploring and I crest this hill and there's this feeling of accomplishment of I've come up and I see the horizon and there's a moment where you go, I can go to anywhere I can see. All right, that's cool. There's going to be people who that just appeals to. There's going to be people that are going to really mess with they're going to say, hey, the controls are insanely clunky, but I figured out some wicked sweet combos that are just fun to do. When they land, and I love every moment. I think there's going to be some players that are going to really fall in love with that in a way that it's kind of surprising. I'm very tempted to do a review on my reviews channel for Crimson Desert, but I haven't got through enough of the game. I think it's probably like at least 500 hours before I feel confident that I've touched all the systems and engaged with them in a meaningful way, which I think should put some perspective on just how big things are and just how deep they are as well. I also think Crimson Desert is the right game to get a true expansion. And I'm not even sure they need to add more space to the map. I think they could just get away with adding new things to the map. One thing Skyrim does really well is when you travel on foot between point A and point B, between two cities, the odds of a unique random event happening in a singular playthrough are pretty high. You'll see some repeats, but you'll see quite a few just one-off random events. There's quite a lot of them. Crimson Desert could really use with some more of those random events, but can they balance that with something that fits the world but isn't overdone? As I ran into the same random event maybe 7 or 8 or 9, 10 times. It was woman crying, help, my wagon rolled down the hill, can you help me? And then like bandits jump out of the wagon. Like that setup happened at least 10 times. Which is like 7 too many. Okay. Oh man, there's so many things in that game. I'm just conflicted on it. I haven't decided where I land, other than saying I do think it's going to age really well, and I want to see some more hot fixes of some of this launch week's problems, because even like there's some really basic things if you read through like the first 2 patch notes that playing the game, you're like, yeah, that was desperately needed. Did they even playtest this? And part of me thinks the answer to that is no. You know, it's kind of mind-boggling that in opening week, they're like, hey, we're going to put the map on the M, journal on J, and inventory on I. Nobody said that during playtesting. Did you playtest it? It's kind of mind-boggling. They were like, hey, we're going to change the entire way the character moves, the horse moves, and all your powers work because they're kind of wonky. Yeah. Did you playtest this? I think it's to the point that 7 days from launch, game is almost night and day different from where it launched. Not because it launched broken, but it launched in a state that was hostile. It was hostile to new players. It was an absolutely rough start. And I think some gamers just weren't going to notice that. They don't play enough games. They aren't picky enough. They aren't trying to critique a thing. They're just trying to have fun. You know, it's 8 o'clock. Everyone's in bed. It's your time. Works the next day. You've got an hour, right? So to recap, before I get too off track here, if you really want to see a review of Crimson Desert, leave a comment and we'll see how far I can. It is full-size game. You better pack a lunch and, sleep the night before. It's a doozy. It's a hike. It's a journey. And I think it's going to age really well. I think it's got a lot of just good things that a long enough timeline, I think, only get better. And I really hope the developers can find that balance between what do we need to add, what do we need to fix, and what do we need to leave alone. And if they can do that without adding in some kind of predatory pay-to-win mechanic, pay-to-play mechanic, pay-to-progress mechanic, without adding in some kind of aggressive monetization system, I think they're going to earn so much goodwill that they can get away with a little more in their second game. Because I want to see a second game. I'm almost tempted here with Crimson Desert to say, please don't make any expansions. Just keep patching, right? Take 80% of your devs and work on Crimson Desert 2. And in Crimson Desert 1, the remaining 20% of your devs, just keep patching this game. It's a good game. You don't need to add more to it. It's big enough. Just what's the next game look? And you might say, hey, Vadd, the next game's like 10 years out. I don't care. Patch this game for the next 8 years. And while you're doing that, working on that next game, because I think that this could be a real franchise that has a lot of staying power by having sequels. I think there should be a follow-up game to this, and I don't want it set in the same world. Early on, they kind of set up this narrative around there's this cosmic order, and you're kind of like the galaxy's sheriff, and you gotta shoot down chaos, yeehaw, and let's go to another place. Let's go be, let's go establish some cosmic order on another planet, A quick thank you here to the people supporting the work on Patreon. If you enjoy these videos and want to support directly, I have a single pay what you want Patreon linked below. Thank you.